Hotep, Uncle Jocelyn, welcome to another live broadcast of Adults Only. You see me here with my boy Chaz, and we're together today because we want to continue to talk about the current effects of child abuse. 2 weeks ago, we started talking about what child abuse was. Last week, we also talked a little bit about what child neglect was. But tonight, we want to talk about, after we get done talking about all of this abuse, emotional, physical, psychological, we want to talk about what happens to a child who grows up and continues to carry that abuse in their hearts. Call a friend, call someone, and let them know that they need to take part in this serious discussion. This broadcast can be seen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. And so, having said that, I'm going to just have Chaz say hello to you guys, and we're going to dive right into our subject matter.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm really ready to get into this topic tonight.
Okay, good. Okay, Chaz. So we're talking about the current effects of child abuse. Do you think child abuse and child neglect lingers on after a child grows up?
Yes, especially if it's not dealt with at an early age. The longer it lingers, the worse it gets. The quicker it lingers, the quicker it'll go away. So meaning if you nip it in the bud quickly, it'll be well. But the longer you let this go, it's going to be a disaster. We have three people: Barbara, Sister Mudiwa, and Anuji, all saying peace and blessings. We appreciate everybody for commenting early, and we're ready to get this show on the pop.
Okay, here we go. What you going to say first, Chaz?
Some of the current effects of child abuse or child neglect.
Okay.
We talked about some of this last week, but number one, the physical health issues. Chronic health problems, developmental delays may arise due to child abuse and neglect.
That is so true, Chaz, because a lot of us experience continuous health problems and we don't develop the way we should because something has happened to us to stunt our growth. The abuse is what I'm talking about. The neglect, it's going to arise because a lot of us, we don't get help when we are abused, when we are neglected, even when we're cursed out as kids, year after year after year, when we're called out of our names, when we're called everything but a child of the king or the child of the queen. We realize that this thing, it takes its effect on us, and then we begin to do things and act a certain way, but it brings about these health problems and these developmental delays. We don't even develop the way a normal child should.
Exactly.
And this is a sad thing, Chad.
And like I just told you, brother, a few seconds ago, when this happens, especially if it's not nipped in the bud quickly, it really, really psychologically affects the child. And you wonder why the child starts to act up or starts to push back a little bit. These are reasons why. Brother Raymond commented, and he says, well, a good-hearted person, it happens to, grows to be a defender against it. Zero tolerance around them. He's absolutely correct.
And that's because that's why we should all have that attitude that Brother Ray is talking about. We should all hate this, man. We should dislike this. We should loathe this. We should be very adamant about those who are allowing this to happen, those who know it happens and won't do anything. These are our babies. These are our children. These are our kids. These are our people who we tend to not like to deal with the issues, but it's going to continue to produce these health issues.
Number two, emotional and psychological impact. Some abuse and neglected children may experience anxiety, low self-esteem.
I know you want this. I know you want this one.
Well, I told you this a few weeks ago. Especially in school, brother. Our kids, they're in a crowded environment. They're constantly going through a lot of recess, and there's conflict. There's teachers sometimes that picks on them. So sometimes when a kid gets called out in the class and they ask the kid to answer, the kid doesn't get the answer.
Right.
The students next to that child, may call them a dummy, call them fat, call them
mm.
slow, call them mentally disabled. And then they're bottling all this up 7 or 8 hours a day, brother. And then when they go home, the parents are piling on instead of actually helping the kid, brother. And this is going to create what you call depression at a young age, especially at a young age.
Yeah, the emotional and psychological aspect. Now, we're not doctors by any stretch of the imagination.
Far from it.
But we know that emotionally and psychologically, this abuse and neglect, it affects us. When a person is molested, we're not just talking about molestation, but this is an example. When a person is molested at a young age and they don't get the help, Chaz, when they get older, when we get older, we experience anxiety. We worry all the time. We stress all the time, and we have low self-esteem. We feel lower than a worm. We feel like a dog. We feel like nothing. And so our self-worth has been attacked, you see. And because we don't know how to be strong because of what has happened to us, we go through life and we have to live with this, and it crushes our emotions and our psychological ability to live. And that's why a lot of us turn to drinking. We turn to drugs. We turn to men. We turn to women. We turn to dope. We turn to alcohol. We turn to violence. We turn to vulgarity. We turn to smut. And so this is what I'm saying, Chaz. These are the effects, my friend, of child abuse and emotional neglect when we're not being taken care of.
Don't forget this, brother. I don't think this happens anymore, but I'm sure in some cities like Chicago and other these places, when all these things happen to our children, the very first thing that they get in themselves initiated in, and I know this sounds cringy, but gangs. Some of our kids get in the gangs, especially Chicago, Pennsylvania, these states, brother. Our kids get initiated in that because that's how Chaz, they feel love.
But why are we not talking about it as parents, as uncles, as aunts? Why are we? These are hush-hush conversations until something happens. And I'm not just talking about molestation. I'm talking about the way we talk to one another. We call these children you SOB, you MF. You know, we call them all of these names, and then these names they have to live with. You know, we talk about them, and these names crush these kids. And instead of us being honest about we need help, we say that the children need help, but it's really us who need help. Bro, Ray is far and away today.
It says the overcomer got to war against it. The one who gives up and stays the victim thinks others being victim is okay because they find with it in their lives. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, and he says something else too.
Violence has its place in nature, even the nature of men, and especially according to the Bible, they say there's a time for everything: love, war, and peace. So I guess in that verse, that kind of ties along with it. But he's absolutely. I don't push violence, and we're not criminals or thugs, so let's not get people to thinking that we are here. But what do you think a child is going to do when, like I told you, they're not getting the love at home? They're constantly
they're going to strike out. They're going to strike out. And this is what Ray is saying. We turn to violence. See, we're not criminals, but because all this is bottled, what they've done to me since I was a boy, it has not been dealt with. And so all this stuff is in me. And as I get older, I know no other way. We're going to talk about that later on, but I know no other way to lash out, because I'm not going to get the help. And this is why we have to have these serious discussions, Chaz.
Yes. Number 3, some abuse or neglected children may struggle with forming healthy relationships and exhibit behavioral issues. Now, I told you earlier again, at school, they probably are having a hard time being friends with people because when they bottle up all these emotions, they're constantly living this day in and day out, night in and night out. So trying to become friends or even going to family functions, brother, they're not going to know how to respond because they're so used of the neglect and abuse.
Yeah, here's what I want to say about that, Chaz. When we are abused, many of us, not all of us, but when we are abused, whether it's psychological, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, that creates what is called a trauma. When we get older, we meet someone of the opposite sex. We cannot form healthy relationships because our minds are so screwed up about what happened to us. And because we have not been helped, we take these relationships and we meet good people, lovely people, wonderful people. And these people cannot deal with us because we don't know how to deal with ourselves. And this is why we begin to have what is called behavioral issues.
But I gotta push back.
Push back on it.
When we have that situation, we meet the opposite sex, and we say, well, this is not an excuse to treat another just because my mother or father abused me does not mean I can abuse others. And brother, we have to nip that in the bud because they say, well, why are you treating this brother like that? Or why are you treating her like that? Well, because as a kid, I was abused. Okay. And that happened. That probably did happen. But that's not an excuse to treat another man like garbage because of that. So we got to nip that in the bud.
And this is true, Chaz, but me and you we're fighting on the set tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because what I say is I agree with that. But I also realize that when those abusive relationships happen as a kid, we don't know how to channel those things because we haven't gotten help. So those things that we go through, they're still in us. And yes, we may want to do the right thing. And a lot of it is because we never got the help that we need. Of course, we should treat them with respect and all of that. But if you don't know how to treat them with respect, then what are you going to do if someone treated you a certain way? So you're right. It's 50-50. But the bottom line is we have to realize that when we are abused and neglected, many times we don't know how to help the very things that we're struggling and going through.
Number 4, many abused and neglected children withdraw from social challenges. That's absolutely right, brother. Before the set, and I'm not going to say this relative's name, but we talked about a person I felt like that's going through this. My heart goes out to him. I know for a fact in school they're mistreating him. They're doing a lot to him. He's got to bottle all this in. And sometimes when we see him, we haven't seen this relative. We say, hey, what's going on with such and such? Brother, do you know a lot of our relatives sit back? What's wrong? And I'm just going to use this. I know. Okay. I'm going to use this. I'm just going to say his name is Kelly. We say, what's wrong with Kelly? Why is he shying away?
Come on the set, Chaz. You're getting off the set, man. Stay on the set, man. You get it.
Okay. But they say, well, why is Kelly shying away from people? Why isn't Kelly? Listen, he's having these challenges because he has been bottling up all these emotions. He has nothing else to turn to. So he thinks that everybody is the enemy. He thinks everybody's out to get him. So this is why he pushes back.
Yeah, and he these neglected kids, our neglected children, they withdraw and they don't want to be bothered. They want to be left alone. They want to, and then when we get older, it's the same thing with adults. We don't want to be bothered until we want to be bothered. We barricade ourselves, we hide ourselves, and we don't come out like a bear. We go through hibernation, and then we want to come out when we want to come out, when we feel up to it. And when we don't want to feel up to it, we withdraw from social challenges. And that's why a lot of our issues will never be resolved, because a lot of us, we don't want to deal with the social challenges because we're in what is called neglect and withdrawal. After all these years, brother, after all these years, we're still dealing with that, and we don't want to come clean.
Number 5, some abused and neglected children have constant aggressive behavior. Yes, you wonder why they're always wanting to fight. They're always using vulgarity. They're always ready to get a knife, or maybe they're shanking things in the house, teddy bears, mattresses. They're plugging holes in it because this is how they're getting out. And they are aggressive, brother. It does not have to be a 26 or 30-year-old man. A kid as young as 10 or 9 years old, they're going to have a lot of rage bottled up in them because this is all they know, brother. And I had to my heart goes out to them because this is how they're trying to cope with this.
Well, Chaz, we know Ray. I guess Ray is the only one that want to talk to us tonight.
We appreciate.
Yeah, he's the only brother that's going to fire away and say what's on his heart.
We appreciate him, Ray. Ray says, I feel due to the prison pipeline, the children can no longer fight and protect themselves. This is why suicide is high amongst teenagers.
He hit it.
The only one they can boss around is their parents.
Whoa.
What does LBVS stand for?
I don't know,
Brother Ray, if you can tell us what that means. LBVS, what does that mean?
Yeah, and then he also fired back at us with this.
John knows I was fighting all the time. Was a good boxer too.
Yeah, he was. He was always throwing knuckles in school, you see. So he's being what is called transparent. And this is why I like this brother to come on the broadcast and make his comments, because he's serious about what we're talking about. And this is a reason that most of us will never get the help we need. We don't want to be honest about these, Chaz. We don't want to be honest about this. Maybe he did come back and give us this. Someone says something else.
Mashana says laughing but very serious. Yes, and we have to come at this. Let's see, laughing but very serious.
Oh, that's what that means. Okay,
laughing but very serious. Okay, but yeah, we have to come at this, and I'm saying for us, brother, we laugh on this set. We try to make it fun because these are serious issues, though. And once again, my heart goes out to these children that are lashing and acting out. And we have to be gentle with them. We can't just whoop them for hours. That's going to solve. we have to be careful with our children, brother.
We really do.
Number 6, some abuse and neglected children engage in substance abuse because they haven't been helped with former abuse or neglect. Now, I'm going to put myself in this.
Okay.
Now, there is nothing wrong with me saying this. Most teenagers or kids have dabbled with alcohol or weed. Let's be real.
Okay.
If you sit up on this doggone broadcast acting like you never smoke or you never drunk, you're a saint, you're perfect, you do nothing, then get off of here.
Oh, come on. Come on, Jazz.
I'm talking about the people who have done, and I've done this too. We do these things because we feel like the weed or the alcohol is going to help the situation. In fact, it gets worse, but in our minds, we think it gets better. And with that being said, we're piling up all this inside of us. It's messing our insides up. And before you know it, some of us have to be locked up into an insane asylum.
Whoa, Chaz. An insane asylum. Yeah, because the abuse and the neglect is so deep that we turn to anything we can. And many of us turn to substance abuse. And so we do whatever we can. We do whatever we can. We smoke as much dope as we can get our hands on. And we we drink as much as we can, but we're trying to medicate a problem that's deep-seated, you see. And so we want people to think that we're okay. But deep down inside, man, we're hurting. We're hurting too. We're hurting because we haven't gotten the help. And many adults, we don't like to sit around and talk like this, see? And that's an indictment up on us as adults because we like to hide behind our cell phones and look at gossip TV, social media crap, celebrity gossip, sports, and all these things. But we don't want to have a discussion like this when your child, my grandchild, your cousin, your niece, your sister, your brother, your friends, they're being affected by this. And most of us don't give two hoots about what we're saying, Chaz, as adults.
And brother, like I said, the kids that do go through this, but it happens so rapid. All it takes is for a kid to get home from school or get out of after school activity, and their friends say, you know what, let's come over. We're going to play video games or whatever. And then they're getting high. Now, I'm not condoning that, but all of us have dealt with that phase of our life. I'm not even bashing the kid. Brother, this is how would have happened. If you think we can live in a society in this generation where a kid is not going to smoke, he's not going to drink, he's not going to indulge in pills, we have another thing coming. So when the parent finds out Johnny has him smoking weed, instead of, I'm going to whoop you until tomorrow. No, just say, you know what? Talk to him about it.
They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that, Chaz. See, you have that theory, and that's down pat. That's how it should be. But most of us as adults, because we're not looking at maybe there's something else deep-seated. We don't ask those kinds of questions. We don't even look into these kids' lives to say, maybe there's something deeper than just the smoking. We just want to put them away and cast them away and talk about them and call, like you mentioned on one of the broadcasts, call our relatives, talk about them like a dog, make them seem like they're the scum of the earth, so that we can see that we can act like we look good when our children and our families and our friends are just as rotten as the ones that we're talking about. This is why we have the problems that we have.
Number 7, too many of our children who have been abused and neglected suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, equals a person who has difficulty recovering after experiencing abuse or neglect. I'm gonna let you take that one away,
Chaz. You know, in the military, they say if there's war, the wartime, and you see your best friend get their brains blown out, but you live, you have to live with that for the rest of your life. Every night or every other night, you hear that, you see that in your mind, and so you live with that. Our children that have been abused, not just molested, those who have been psychologically abused, those who have been emotionally abused, those who have been physically abused, they have to live with this for the rest of their lives. And so they're going through the same thing that a person in the military went through when they saw their friend get their face blown off, and they have to remember what they saw. Well, they have to relive that act that somebody molested them. They got to relive that act that somebody cursed them out all their lives. They have to relive that act that someone did things to them. Someone abandoned them. Someone treated them like you know what. So let's get real on this broadcast, because a lot of people aren't interested in this kind of talk, Chaz. They don't want this kind of language, man. I'm telling you this.
It has to be talked about, brother, and we're not going to back away from these discussions. It looks like we got another comment that just shot in. Someone says, nobody is perfect. That's why correctness is never ending. He's absolutely right. No one is perfect, and we have to keep addressing these issues as they come up. Number 8, Early child abuse and neglect can affect brain development, leading to a functioning and emotional advancement. I'm gonna let you get that one as I take a swig of water.
Okay, because listen, when a child is abused at an early age, it affects the brain functioning. See, the brain functions a certain way. You go through infancy, then you go through your early childhood, then you go through your teenage years, and you go to your adulthood. But when the child is abused and neglected, the pattern that the brain normally goes through is stunted because of the act that was perpetrated on that child. And so now that child can't proceed and progress because we did something to that child to affect the way this child thinks. And I'm telling you now, I'm excited about this conversation. I'm passionate about it, but my issue is with us as adults. We don't give a damn about what we're talking about, Chaz. We don't, Chaz, and you know we don't. And this is why people don't want to comment and be honest about the dangers. You have people in your family, I have people in my family that have been dealt with when it comes to this abuse. Most of us hide behind a phone. All we want is a holiday, a European holiday. All we want is something in our mouth like dope. All we want is something in our mouth like something to drink. All we want is to watch a television. All we want is clothes on us. All we want is our hair done. All we want is this. And this is why we are in the quagmire that we're in. We're not serious, my friend. And that's all I'm trying to say. When will we get serious? Look at all of these comments by one brother.
Brother Ray comments again. He says, "I'm PTSD, Black man in America, KKK."
And you compound that on top of it. You compound the racism that on top of it. You compound the unemployment on top of it. You compound the economic disparity that's disparaging that we're going through. You compound all of those things, man, and you got yourself a people that have been kicked in the teeth and don't know what to do.
Number 9, some abuse and neglected children as they are vulnerable to
as they age.
As they age are vulnerable to re-victimization later in life.
Okay. Now, Chad, that means this. If something happens to me when I'm a kid, let's use I get cursed out all the time. I get called all kind of names. When I become an adult and I have children, guess what I'm gonna do to my children?
The same thing.
I'm gonna do the very same thing. And this is what we see, but because of ignorance, no, Chaz, I mean this, because of low-mindedness, and because people want to run to buildings and make like these buildings are helping them, they're not into their faith, they're just talking. But when this thing is done to me, re-victimization means I'm going to do it to you, even though I know it's wrong.
See, I got to stop real quick. I got to push back again because we had this discussion a little bit earlier on the broadcast. Now, even though I do agree, brother, even if our parents treat us, they dog us out, they whoop us, they cuss us out, brother, I agree. That's terrible. That's horrible. As an adult, I need to say, you know what? What my mother and father did to me is right. I'm not going to pass this down to my kids. I'm going to stop this right now and say, you know what? I'm going to teach them the right way, because what's going to happen, and you know as well, if we keep passing this down, our kids are going to do it. Their kids is going to do it. So you have to nip that in the bud early, so that way we can stop this. Because not you, brother, but I hate when I hear on the news or on YouTube, well, I only did this because my mother died. That's a cop-out. You doing that because you low down. That's no good.
And I'm going to come back at you with this too, Chaz. What you said is true. Some people, they do that. They say, because it happened to me, I will not do it to my children, which is good. But there are others who say, it happened to me, so
take it out on them.
Not take it out. I'm going to do it to them. I'm going to do it to them. You see, and it sounds horrible, but that's what's really going on, Chaz.
Mashana came in with a comment. She says, "What do you do when you know a child is being neglected, but you want to get CPS involved?"
You call them. I mean, that's what you do. You cannot let someone get away with abuse and not call the people that need to take care of it. You know, you can call it a snitch, you can call it ratting, but you're protecting the children. There is no way, and I hope I read this right. You got now, unless you're going to take the child from the parent, and the parent says, "I'm going to give you my child." When you say, "I really want your children," because you're not treating them properly, and the parent says, "I'm going to legally give them to you," then you take them. But other than that, you have no other way out. You
Okay.
must get now. It's hard, Chaz,
Yes.
but you got to do it, man.
And I'm not aware of the situation, but I'm pretty sure this sounds like something that's involved with a family.
Mhm.
So she's probably maybe a little bit nervous because of her safety, because if she says that she may be afraid to. But I would agree with what you just said, brother. If you can, call CPS immediately. There's no sugarcoating, because the longer this goes, the longer this gets, the worse it gets.
You got
So
to,
it's good
man.
just
You
nip
have
it in the
to.
bud
Okay,
now.
who do you care about? And I know the queen isn't saying this. I'm just saying this generally. Who do we care about more? The abuser or the person that's being abused? If it's the person that's being abused, I must call CPS. And if it costs me my life, because I call CPS to protect them, then so be it.
Or I was
So be it.
I was going to say, if she wants to, she can get smart. And I know they don't do this anymore, but use a neighbor's phone and call CPS, or go to someone that you
If
don't
you
know.
want to play games,
Yeah, because you
can.
don't want your life to be snuffed out. She's a female, so I get that. But yeah, I must admit to her comment once again. Call them immediately. Get this over with, because the longer you let this go, the worse it gets. Number 10. Some abuse and neglected children suffer due to emotional distress and difficulties in concentration. Yes.
Can't concentrate.
Yes.
Can't
In
concentrate.
school, it's tough. And I keep going to school because most of our young ones are still in school, even though they're on a holiday. But I'm saying most of them are still in school. It's tough for them to concentrate, brother,
When they've been abused.
they've been thinking about this whooping that they got on them last night. And they can't and they can't lift up their arm because their parent knotted and belted their arm up so much they got knots on it because of what they've done. And once again, parents who are doing this to their children, stop.
Yeah, you need to. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. If you need help, go check your own self in, but don't take it out on these children. If you're just joining this broadcast, the name of this broadcast is Adults Only. I'm your big brother Jahi, and this is Chaz. Tonight's subject is this: the current effects of child abuse and child neglect. This is part 3. We've already talked about defining child abuse. We already talked about defining child neglect. Tonight we're talking about when a child doesn't get any help. They grow up through life, they become adults, and these are the things that our children, now adults, this is what they're going through. And this is why we should have more discussion about this when it comes to adults. But it seemed like most adults got their tongues glued together because they don't want to acknowledge the fact.
Brother.
No, Chaz, this is true. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that somebody in their own family has been abused. I know some of my family members have been cussed out.
We are, brother. We just seen Sister Mashana put that on the screen. She says that she's afraid of calling CPS. She doesn't know. So you are right. This is going on in our family.
Yeah, and so what do we do about it? You know, we've got to step up to the plate.
Brother Ray chimed in again. He says, don't worry about nothing getting that child help ASAP.
That's right. The child is important because the longer we play games, the longer we push it and kick it down the road, the more that child is going to be abused. And I don't want it on my conscience that I knew you were abusing someone that I love.
Right.
And instead of me coming to you as a man and saying you're going to stop, I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn you in. And if you try to kill me, we're going to have to just duel. And whoever wins, wins.
No, come on now. This is not no mob or mafia. But here's the thing. I would say just don't tell them about it. Just do it quietly. Because
but you still got to do it.
Yeah, just do it quietly because like you said, brother, if you tell them, well, I'm going to turn you in and such, you know that's the response you're going to get. Just quietly do it.
Yeah,
sneak and do it.
That's life. However you want to do it. If you want to sneak and do it, that's fine. if you want to do it the way it doesn't matter. It has to be done. Okay. What does this next one say, Chaz?
Number 11. Many abused or neglected children have serious issues being effective parents because they struggle with the past abuse to themselves. The effects of their abuse doesn't go away.
Chaz, this is really good right here because many of us as parents, we're not effective parents. And the reason why is because we've been abused physically, emotionally, psychologically. We've been neglected. And so we can't be effective parents because all that stuff that happened to us, we don't know how. We don't know. Yeah, we can take our kids to the movies. We can go to the circus. We can go to the zoo. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about making sure that our children's needs are met, as we talked about last week. Making sure our children's medical situation is on the up and up. Right. See, that's what I'm trying to get us to see now. Right. Because we can't be effective parents, Chaz, because many of us are still struggling with the past abuse ourselves. We're still struggling with that. And that is so sad. It's very sad.
We got another comment, Brother Ray says, make you wish you spanked them, I meant.
But yeah, it's one of those things where we have to deal with this. And you know, Chaz, I would ask you a question.
Okay.
What would you say to us as adults who are not having this discussion? What would you say to us about this current effects of child abuse and neglect?
We know these things are going on, but
Okay.
we choose to, like you said, sweep it under the rug until it affects us.
Okay,
So for
okay.
the adults that know that this is going on, let's be honest and let's be sincere. Have these discussions, even if that means getting on the phone, calling a relative, seeing who's been abused in our family. Because as I just mentioned, Sister Mashonda mentioned earlier, she has someone that she's thinking about contacting CPS. We all have these issues. So let's quit sugarcoating it and quit playing and quit. And brother, and I, this is my pet peeve about this broadcast,
Okay,
or just people in general. Nobody cares until when it knocks on their front door. That's when they really have a revolution. And I hate that. Instead of just saying all of us are equal, nobody's better than no one else. Let's treat each other fairly and deal with it. But nobody cares until it strikes them at the front door.
You got that right, brother. You really do.
No, we must all recognize and address these effects to provide appropriate support and intervention for children who experience abuse or neglect.
Where do they go, Chaz, when they're being abused? Who do they go to?
Brother,
go for it.
Back in the day when I grew up, and I'm pretty sure it's probably outdated, they used to have the Boys and Girls Club. These were some, now for the most part, they were some good men and women who taught these kids things as far as giving, taking them out to Walmart, maybe buying them a cup of candy or something like that. Brother, the Boys and Girls Club had it going on. Now, if you can afford that, then that's something I would look forward to at doing.
Keep going.
But yeah, the Boys and Girls Club is something that I would put our kid in, or after school sports activities. But the Boys and Girls Club, let me ask you this, and I think they are outdated. Are they still around? The Boys and Girls Club?
They're still around. You got the YMCA, the YWCA. A lot of it is corrupt now because a lot of them are abusing our children, just like these people in these religious settings. Not all of them, but they're corrupting our children. They're abusing our children, and a lot of us will be tight-lipped about that. We know that it's going on, but we won't say anything about it. And so we must be able to provide appropriate support, man. Because if your child or my child or someone else's child, if they can't come to me as an uncle, as a brother, as a friend, as a mentor and say, hey, something is going on with me, you know, they have to be willing to come to me because I have given them the appropriate support that they need. But they know if they come to me, instead of me really helping them, I'm going to get on the phone, I'm going to call everybody and their mama, and I'm going to tell them what they told me. And so they're not going to come to me because I got a fat mouth and I won't be quiet. And this is why people don't come to us.
Let me just say that too, brother. And like you just mentioned, instead of us being men and women and like we can't hold water, stop it. Quit telling everybody's business. I hate that. Everybody wants to tell what the next person is doing. You got stuff in your own closet you haven't dealt with. Quit gossiping about the next relative. Quit slamming them.
That's a child that hasn't grown up. That's all it is. It's a child that hasn't grown up. Now let's shift gears in this broadcast.
Okay.
The subject tonight is the current effects of child abuse and child neglect. Now we're going to shift gears. This is what we want you to know.
What can we do to help stop child abuse and neglect? I'm going to let you take this real quick.
Now we're going to talk about what we can do. See, we talked about what's going on. Now, these are practical things we can do. Stay informed. Educate yourself about the signs of child abuse and neglect. Quit being on the internet all the time, surfing, looking for your favorite entertainer. Quit looking for the person they happy now. I follow so-and-so. That ain't nothing to be bragging about. Follow how to stay informed and educate yourself on the signs of child abuse and child neglect. That's who we should be following.
And real quick, brother, as a parent, we should be, when our kid comes home from school, we should be looking at their neck, looking at their back,
check it out,
checking their stomachs, making sure you don't see that. And even if it's not always whooping them, mental abuse, look and see.
Talk to them.
How many negative comments did you get? Was your teacher belittling you? Things like that is what we need to be looking at, bro.
Well, because most of it is in the home. Because you can talk about the teacher all you want to, and the teacher going to keep a distance for a certain degree. You see, they're going to keep a distance. But when you get home and you come home and you didn't clean up the room this morning, you're called every black SOB, every MFer, every bastard, every this and that. And so now you're being abused at home, and we're the ones who should be dealt with, because many of us are nothing but abusers, but we don't see that because, see, we provide a roof over their head.
Right. And we feel like we can do that.
We put food in their mouths.
Right.
So we often tell them, I'm the HNIC, I'm the H, what, in charge. So I can do what I want to do. That means we even get to abuse them because we feel like we're above reproach. And that's why most of our kids grow up the way they are, and our grandkids rotten to the core because of people like us. We don't like to stay informed.
And I was going to say real quick, brother, about that. Our kids, I just thought about it, brother. They're dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
At school, they come home, they get it at home,
Mhm.
and then they're even getting it with their friends. Because, brother, their friends, 4, 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, they don't have filters. They just fly off at the handle. So they're bottling all three of those things, and these is day by day. And before you know it, it piles up, and then they just explode. And as a parent, we have to give them this, brother. Give them time to explode. What is a 7-year-old going to do? They're going to do this, and let's not be able to, like I said, jump down their throat when they do it, because it's liable to happen.
Chaz, I want to say this too.
Okay.
I teach a class, man. I teach 8-year-olds to 10-year-olds. And we have a class called Identity Class.
What's that about?
It talks about who we are as a person and what makes us who we are. And many of our children are so abused and neglected, they don't even know who they are. They don't even know who they are. And if a child doesn't know who they are, 9 times out of 10, the parent doesn't know who they are. Because if the parent knew who they were, the parent would teach the child who they are. And so here we're struggling because we're trying to continuously teach these students that you are wonderful. Your self-worth is great. You are grand. But because most of us don't care about this kind of stuff, Chaz, and this is why we must do this next thing that's on this screen, where it says,
oh, okay, I thought you were going to my fault. Promote awareness, share information on child abuse.
Share
it.
Share
it. You can get your little pamphlet. You can upload it to your Facebook, or you can also just give it to the community. Get other parents involved, because there may be something I may not be aware of that the parent may know. So
and right now I'm going to give Brother Ray his props, because I said it last week, but I'm going to say it again. If you're a friend of his, he always posts missing children, missing adults, missing people. Mm-hmm. And it says, have you seen this child? It gives the description, it gives the name, it gives the location they live. See, that's the kind of stuff we should be following. See, we should be friends with people like that, who's going to keep and promote an awareness, as opposed to people that just want to be on the internet trying to make quotes to make you feel good.
And I want to say something real quick while we're on this topic. We all get our cell phones. We get these alerts. These Amber Alerts, brother. Every time I get one of those, whatever I'm doing, because I'm so accustomed to the sound, brother, I'm not saying that I'm going to pass out or panic, but it does something to me, because right there at that moment, brother, you know what's going on. And I don't know how effective the people who are abducting these kids get pulled over, but once you get that alert, you know that somebody's child, brother, is being neglected.
Yeah, that's sad.
C. Be supportive to offer whatever help you can when you know that someone has been or is being abused or neglected. Don't talk about them.
We talked about that a lot off and on in this broadcast. But if you're not going to help, then shut your mouth. If I'm not going to be there to assist that parent who needs help, then I need to shut my mouth. Mm-hmm. And because a lot of us just talk, and this is why we're having silent messages. We're having silent people because we're not interested in this stuff. Chaz, do you hear what I'm saying?
Wow.
Now, if we were talking about shaking our groove thing, and if we were talking about going to the nightclub, and we were talking about getting a dub and all that.
Brother, what do you know about a dub?
Well, I'm saying, if we were talking about all this kind of stuff, we'll be blowing up. We'll be blowing up. But when you talk about serious issues, most of us tuck our tail between our legs and we run, because we don't want to offer whatever help we can.
Right.
Whatever help we can to the parent and to the child.
Yeah.
You see, that's what unity is all about.
D.
Stop
leaving your children with others. Now, we talked about this in other broadcasts, and this is what I was going to say too. Unless you have a medical emergency or appointment, okay, leave your kid, go do what you got to do. Okay. But we're talking about just dumping them on any and everybody. Brother, you know it's gotten so bad. There's certain friends and relatives in our family. Mm-hmm. We choose not to answer this phone because we know they want to dump that kid on us. I hate that. What's wrong? And I'm not going to say this brother's name. You know who I'm talking about. This brother has a kid. I'm going to talk Cole here. He's a Steelers fan. He does not want his kid around anybody. He wants to spend time. Unless there's an emergency, brother, you can't get this man to just dump his kid. He's with this boy. Yeah. He does not want any and just everybody and whoever taught him that philosophy. I say that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But quit pushing our kids off on any and everybody. That's where the neglect normally starts.
And it's right under your nose. It's right under your nose. It's not the stranger that you don't know of. You've seen Scooby-Doo, right? I gotta say this.
Go ahead. I know where you're going.
You've seen Scooby-Doo, right?
You're right.
Every time on Scooby-Doo, at the end, they pull the cover off of somebody's head. And whenever they see who that person, they all say, oh, they know that person.
Yes, they homeboy. Somebody that they grew up with turned on them.
And when you pull that sheet off, it's somebody in your family, man. Wow. Or somebody that you know. Wow. And like Scooby-Doo, you pull the sheet off and you all know who it is. This is the way abuse and neglect is. Yeah. It's not a stranger that you've never seen before. They live around you. They come in your house. They eat around you. They watch TV with you. They go places with you. It's somebody who comes around you quite often. So when you pull the sheet off of their head, we all say, oh, it's the very person that we already know.
Yeah, that's a crying shame and a disgrace. Rashana writes, laugh out loud.
Yeah, because that stuff is crazy, man. It really is.
It really is. Ask questions to your children and explain to them in their understanding what abuse and neglect is.
Now that's important, Chaz.
Okay.
Because a lot of children don't know what abuse is.
Okay.
A lot of adults don't know what abuse is. We think that abuse is just whooping somebody or leaving scars on them or bruises or badgering them. But we don't look at neglect. We leave kids with other people. We leave kids with in institutions that's not helping us, like these educational facilities. Right. That's neglect. Right. We never pick up the phone if we have a baby by one woman and have a baby by another woman. We don't call our children as they get old and keep the communication. Right. That is neglect. Yes. See, not taking them to the doctor when they need help. Yes. That's neglect. Yes. Not being able to be at their games, whatever they're involved in. That's neglect. Yes. So we don't look at neglect like that because our minds are just on abuse or molestation or something, you see.
Right.
And so we must explain to our children in their own understanding.
Right.
What you ask them, Fred, what is abuse? He doesn't know. Mm-hmm. You let him say what he thinks, and then you explain to him. Then you say, Fred, what is abuse? And he doesn't know. You tell him what abuse is. That's so right. As he grows up, he won't do that to his children, man. Right. This is so crucial. This is really crucial.
We got another comment. Brother Ray says, man, I played football, ran baseball, boxed, and my parents was never at any of my matches or games. I used to walk home from Elmhurst to Smith in Creighton after football practice every day. That's tough. Wow. Now, the brother said no support, and nobody in his family was man or woman enough to give this brother a ride home.
Come on. I don't know, Chad. I think
that's tough, brother. Right? That's tough.
And see, he took all that on the chin, and he's become a fine gentleman now. You see, and he took all that and said, all the things that happened to me, I'm gonna turn them around for their good, so that I know what I need to do as a parent, as opposed to like you and I were talking about allowing it to defeat him. And so I give hats off to this brother. He's transparent, man. He always tells us the truth about himself. But the rest of these jokes, no, brother. Come on. Okay, well, let's keep going.
I want to touch back up on that real quick. Like he said, he's mentally tough. But brother, can you imagine a kid that has a soccer game and they look out in the crowd? Do you know emotionally what that does to the kid? Their parents aren't there, but their friends, mom and dad, go Charlie, Frank.
Yeah.
And they probably are going crazy on the inside saying, I'm not good enough to have any support, but these kids do.
Or like you said, when Frank and Charlie scores a touchdown, everybody erupts. When he scores a touchdown, nobody says anything. So this is sad, man. This is really sad.
Offer assistance and resources to parents who may be struggling with abuse or neglect of their children. Now, this goes back to a comment we got earlier. If you are financially stable, you know a relative that is financially getting abused, offer them a couple bucks and don't expect nothing back. Because the reason why I'm clapping is because we like to say, I gave Ashley $50 for those Pampers. And you know she did. You should give Ashley the Pampers because she needs them, not because you want her to give them back plus some. Do it because the kind of, and if I think we as a society will be better if we stop always expecting something back instead of giving it from the conscience
Don't
of our
change
heart.
this channel. Don't get off this phone. Watch this broadcast because we're talking about something that all of us need to be engaging in, and that is the current effects of child abuse and child neglect. I'm going to say something profound, Chaz, right now. This is very profound.
Come on.
Many of the adults that's watching this have been abused and neglected. They've been abused and neglected and don't even realize it and don't know what to do with it. But so we must offer assistance because that's important. That's crucial.
G, be an example of how to respect and show kindness to children in your own interactions. I was going to give you a little credit about that, brother. You say you have a class. You've done this for years. You teach kids. You've been a wonderful role model teaching them the do's and don'ts. Because, brother, do you know how easy it is for any of us to be involved with drugs, abusing people? You've been a good role model. So let me ask you this. What do you use or what is your mindset? Because you've been like this for years. What do you do to keep this mindset going?
I look at life and I look at our condition as a people. Chaz, we're sick. Our kids are dying, man. Our kids are committing suicide at an all-time rate. So I look at life and say, what can I do to be of assistance? Whatever I can do, if it's an ear, if it's teaching, because I'm not just one who flap their gums like most of us.
Okay.
We talk a good game, but we ain't gonna bust a grape, what we used to say back in the day.
In a fruit fight.
Yeah, we're not gonna do anything, but we have to look at these kids, even though they're not mine.
Right.
Now, but we have to realize that they are really mine, you see.
Right.
And so we have to look at these kids and say, who's going to stand in the gap? Most of these religious people always talking about standing in the gap. A Negro, they're not going to stand in the gap, man, because their minds are confused. So we must be an example. And so I don't only love kids, I love adults, I love senior citizens, because it's about humanity, Chaz. Don't give me a Bible verse. Don't give me the Quranic verse. Don't give me a spiritual principle. Show me in your life that you care about people and you don't have to do it for accolades. And if I don't get no one says or tries to help me, that'll be the last thing that I'm going to do is to show these kids that there was a man who gave everything he had so that I could become a fine woman, a fine gentleman, because a lot of niggas. You know what? I'm gonna let you say something, Chad. I'm gonna let you say.
You've been on the road lately.
I'm gonna let you say something. I'm gonna let you say something, Chad, because this is crazy.
H, encourage positive parenting, promote healthy communication and discipline strategies. And I talked about this other brother, especially with discipline our kids. Everything is not a belt. Everything is not a switch. Use alternate measures. Take their phones away from them for a week. Put them in a corner for maybe 20 minutes. There's all kind of options, but the first thing is blacks. Because what we did, as our parents did to us, as soon as something went left,
what happened, Chaz?
Go get me that switch. Go get me that belt.
Yeah, that's true.
No, don't do that.
Got cussed out.
Oh yeah, cussed out. But I'm saying teach them other measures. And Brother Ray commented again. He says, these new age young adults are spoiled and very disrespectful. And that, brother, we're gonna have to do a broadcast.
Yeah, we will. Wait, that's a whole other broadcast.
Youth, brother. I'm talking about my youth.
Man,
they are disrespectful.
It's true. It's true.
I report known child abuse or child neglect. I keep going back to this comment because this has been on me. We got a comment earlier from a sister. She said that she's contemplating calling CPS.
Chaz, let me tell you, I'm going to interrupt you now and say something that I don't want to be disrespectful to the audience or to anyone because I love all people. But here's the deal. Okay. Chaz, a lot of people aren't thinking, they're not interested in what we're saying. We have to, you and I and others who are like us, we have to accept it. They make it personal. They're angry. So instead of talking about what they can do, what we can do to help our youth, they're going to talk about us, how we came off, how we came across, what we should have said, how we should have said it, when we should have said it. In other words, Chaz, all I'm saying is many adults don't care about this subject matter, you see? And that's why I want you to realize you can scream, I can talk as loud, we can clap our hands, we can say things. Many adults aren't interested in this, Chaz. And instead of them being honest and say, I'm not interested in this, they're going to turn the tables on us
Let me-
and make us become the
And
bad guys.
I want to push back a little bit, brother. We talked about this in previous broadcasts. To anyone who's listening to these videos and messages, we're not coming off on you.
Chaz, you
We
don't have to say that to them. They know. See,
No.
and I know what
Okay.
you're saying.
Okay.
And I know, and you can finish it. That's why people don't want to watch this broadcast. I'm gonna tell you now, because they know we're not talking to them personally. We don't even know some of these people. But in their hearts, Chaz, because they're guilty of sin, and because they don't want to accept the fact that as an adult, we all have to own up to our responsibilities. We don't want to do this, Chaz. And I'm telling you, that's why they don't watch this broadcast faithfully. This is why, and I know we often say I used to tell them all the time, I love you all. We love you. Well, that's not going to do it.
Right.
Because many people, you often say too, we're not talking to you personally. And they know we're not. But in their hearts, man, they don't want this, man.
I gotta say this real quick, brother. I believe some of us with the mindset, I believe some of them think that we are, and that's why I keep saying that.
Okay.
There's some of them who really think that, and we're not. And then last but not least, like you said, about the viewers and stuff like that. I've come to the point where I'm not trying to save the village. I'm not trying to be Martin Luther.
Wow.
No, I'm not trying to be Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, start these revolutions. Even if there's 2 people that we help, that's good enough for me. That's all. I'm not trying to save the world, because I know most of the world doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Letter J. Foster a safe environment. Create spaces where children feel comfortable expressing themselves.
Yeah. Now, how can you foster a safe environment for children when every Tom, Dick, and Harry's coming in your house? How can you foster
It's a turnstile.
How can you foster a good environment when you're allowing strangers around your children and your kids or around your relatives that they don't know? How can you foster a safe environment when you're willing to leave those children for a half an hour with a complete stranger that you like, that you love, that you want, but you don't know what happens to these kids in that relationship? I told you a few weeks ago about this man. This woman was so desperate for a man, Chaz.
What happened?
She was so desperate for a man. She found a man, and this man abused her, but she loved him so much, she left her 3-year-old daughter with him when she went to the store. When she came back, the daughter was dead because he had beaten this 3-year-old to death. It wasn't his child, but he beat her to death. And so we all look at this as if, what a sad tragedy. But because she had low self-esteem, she let this man keep her daughter. He cursed her out. They asked her. She knew he treated her that way, but she didn't think he'd do her child like that.
That's sad. My heart goes out to that 3-year-old who lost their lives over something that could have been prevented. Letter K. Make sure that your children are always in your sight when you go out, especially when you're out in big places such as Walmart, Target, CVS, Walgreens. We do need to, because like you said, all it takes is a second. And then these kids are gone. They're in a big van or U-Haul van, and they're out to the races, and someone is molesting them. Keeping them in front of us, even if we have our phones in our hands, make sure that we're always looking through the side of our eye, making sure that there's somewhere around us, because it's easy for these kids to get snatched
you know, I look at this and I say that adults, we have a great responsibility. But for some reason, our responsibility has just waned. And so now anything goes. As long as, like you said, until it comes in our lap. When it comes in our lap, then it's a whole nother ball game. But if it's not happening to us, we know that it's happening all over the world. But because it's not happening to us personally, but it really is happening to us personally. And we don't look at it that way. And this is why we want you to know that there are current effects of child abuse and child neglect. And we can go on and on and on talking about this. This is the 3rd week. But here's one of the things we want to say that's kind of the conclusion of everything. You've got to do this last point. Chad, say this point and let's talk about this.
Make sure that your children have access to you at all times. For example, if they're 8, I was talking to brother about this before the broadcast. To me, if the kid is at the ages of 9 or 10, if they are able to grab a tablet and get on TikTok, get on YouTube, get them a phone and program your phone number.
Your number, not your dad's. Your number.
And show them, okay, I'm going to contact my name under mom or dad. If you have any problems, I don't care what time it is, you go to your contacts and you use this. I don't care if it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, you call me, and don't be afraid, because I'm going to be there for you. Teach them how to use that phone, brother, because our kids in this abduction rate, it's out the roof. I'll let you get this one.
Yeah, because the access is crucial, man. Make sure that your children have access to you at all times. There's nothing more to say. There's nothing less to say. The point speaks for itself. Make sure that your children have access to you at all times, not sometimes, not every now and then, not every blue moon, not every holiday. Make sure that your children have access to you at all times. If you're a grandparent and you love your grandchildren, make sure that your grandchildren have access to you at all times, because for whatever reason, if they can't get mama, if they can't get daddy, then they should have grandmama or granddaddy.
Right.
There must be someone's name in that phone that these kids can call to tell you, I'm in distress.
Right.
This just happened to me. This happened to, and it's not just molestation.
Right.
If somebody cusses your child out, they need to call you and say, you know what, mama, I was at this place, blah, 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 and somebody just called me all these names for whatever reason. And then that's when the parent comes in, and they come in with intelligence, and they look at the situation and they tell the person who did this, even if my child did something wrong, you don't call my child out of their name.
Right.
And this is what adults do. But Chaz, most of us aren't interested in the principles, and people get sick of me saying this. They get tired of me saying this.
What's that?
But it's true. Most of us don't care about these serious subjects. But if we were talking about Beyonce, Jay-Z, Will Smith, or famous football or basketball or an entertainer, or these people that sing songs, or these Facebook people that we're chasing after, or these romantic people that we're in love with, that we're trying to find out, or these people we're following on Facebook. See, these are the people that we're following.
Brother, I noticed that. You love talking about that. But
It's true.
I want to say real quick, because I know time is rapidly winding down. Our children's phones should be 4 to 5 to 6 contacts deep, like you said. If you can't get mom, call dad. If you can't get dad, call grandma, grandpa. And I'm sure these kids have brothers or sisters. Get their numbers in their phones too, because sometimes if you guys are working an overnight shift or double shift and the grandparents are all asleep, you make sure that there's always somebody in that phone that they can contact. Even if you need to, not all neighbors are devils, not all neighbors are demonic. Get the next door neighbors contact in there as well. Saying, if you can't, contact Sister Shirley next door, she'll be able to help you.
And talk to your children. When you get your children back from wherever they are, it's okay to talk to them.
Yes.
You don't have to just pick them up and act like everything is good. When you get home, we know how to pry.
Right.
We know how to pry, ask questions. Hey, what did y'all do? We didn't do anything. You did something. What did you do all night? And it's going to come out.
Right.
It's going to come out, Chaz. And then you can find out what's really going on.
I want to say real quick, Michonne put on there, yep, I'll be there on 2 wheels, laugh out loud.
2 wheels. Yeah, she's going to be on 2 wheels trying to get to her loved one.
Yes.
Was this Ray says something?
We already commented on this.
Okay, here's what time to say here.
We got 58. We got 2 minutes left, brother.
Okay.
I cannot believe how fast this time is going down. But next week's
project.
project.
Let me be quiet. Let me be quiet while you say this. Okay, now let me be real quiet while you say this. Here it is.
Next week, do you want Kwanzaa or Christmas? Now, I already know what the answer is. I'm going to reserve that to next week. I got a lot to say about this.
No, Chaz, I can't have you on this broadcast dumping off all of your inner emotions on this thing. Chaz, you can't dump off all this stuff on here.
Oh, no, but it's true, brother. And next week, we're not going to come at you as bashful.
You can do what you want to do. I don't have a problem with it. It's your choice. All we're asking you is, which one do you want? Do you want Kwanzaa, a cultural celebration, an African-American celebration, a celebration that deals with principles like unity, self-determination, principles that we need, principles about cooperative economics, principles about faith in our leaders, faith in our parents, faith in those who are teaching us. That's the kind of faith.
And I got to take
self-determination.
I got to take just one pot shot, brother, if I can.
What's that?
At Christmas, just the people. If anybody on this program is a Christian, and this is no knock. If you are a Christian and you are celebrating this concept called Christmas, you are deceived.
Whoa!
You are deceived. And I won't get into that next week, brother. This is just for Christians only who say that they are. Any Christian that celebrate Christmas, I got to talk about this in a good principle, but you guys shouldn't be celebrating that because you are deceived.
That's the question. Well, now we know you can have what you want to have, but I hear somebody now, Chaz, talking through this computer saying, I can do what I want to do. We're not saying you can't.
Right.
You
but
can
if you
do what
follow the religion, there's do's and don'ts.
But we can do what we want to do. We're not gonna bash those who celebrate Christmas. We're not gonna bash you if you celebrate Christmas. That's all. We're just asking you, what do you want? What do you want? Because we're gonna show you two different aspects of each of them. And like one of my friends said last week, he said he's at the point now where if you want to do them both, he doesn't care. That's your
I heard that.
He said that's your personal choice. If you want to do them both, you can do what you want to do. But why would you do one that's Eurocentric, but you won't do the other one that's Afrocentric? we gotta talk, Chad. Now we probably won't get too many views, but that's all good.
See, brother, I told you earlier, it's not about we can't be Dr. King, Malcolm X, Kennedy, all these good guys. We got to look and say in our minds, I'm going after one or two people.
Okay.
And if I get that one or two,
that's good.
That's good.
So if that one or two, if you go ahead, Jazz.
Now I was gonna say trying to get 80-90% of the public to agree, brother, that's never gonna happen because what we're teaching is opposed to what they've been taught.
Okay.
So the mind frame is from now on, I'm looking for one or two.
Just one or two.
One or two. And if I get more than that,
I'll
be happy.
That's fine.
But I'm looking just for one or two.
Boy, you have been a flamethrower. You have been a flamethrower on this broadcast when it comes to the current effects of child abuse and child neglect and just overall. And in all seriousness, we can't say it enough how much we care for our people. We're talking about you.
Yes.
We love you guys so much. We get silly sometimes and we have fun, but we just try to lighten up the mood because right now we have a lot of stuff going on and we just know that we care for you and we want to bring subjects out that you need to hear and we want to be able to express them to you. In all seriousness, we love you all. We hope that you take this to heart because we're trying to help those who really need help. And so as Chad said earlier, if just one person or two people, they say, you know what, I'm now going to start looking at my child when it comes to child abuse and neglect, or my relatives, my nieces, my nephews, I'm going to start asking questions, then that's what it's all about. So normally, I started off and I let Chaz finish it. So I want to say to you all on next week, please tune in and realize we're just going to be teaching about what do you want. So I say to all of you, I know BB says Shem Hotel Brothers, and we say to her,
and make sure you do. You make sure when we told you earlier, you do what you do. Talking
about that. Yeah. And sometimes you gotta call people that you may not want to. But if it's about a child, Chaz, I'm gonna tell you now to your face. If I know you're abusing a child, I care more for the child than I do people. Right. I got to. Right. So I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to let Chaz give you the last his soliloquy. He always gives you a soliloquy, I should say, about what this is all about. He's going to wrap it up. He's going to be the last voice here until next Wednesday at 6 o'clock on Adults Only. Do you want Kwanzaa or do you want Christmas? Take us away, Chaz.
I'm going to say real quick, brother, every time I do a broadcast, I start off with a lot of energy, and towards the end, it feels like I read 50 miles. But with all seriousness, all of our kids, if you know someone in your family has or is being abused, don't hesitate. Call immediately. It's not good to be on your conscience that you know a kid could have possibly lost their life or is getting abused, and you can stop it. Also, for our children, when they're pushing back and they're disrespectful at home, don't abuse them. Use alternate measures to get them under control. And for the parents, I know we're going through a lot. I know we're working on shifts. I know times are hard, but quit abusing these children because of what was done to us. And last but not least, tune in next week. It's going to be a serious topic on Kwanzaa. I cannot express how much time I've had talking about our kids because these discussions have to be had. With that being said, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and I hope you guys tune in next week. Take care, everybody.